Hey, it's Chris and Brian. Caught off guard from Resolve Technology. And today, Chris wants to talk about some recent updates to Windows 11. And Chris, why don't you show us what's new here?
So yeah, essentially for people in release preview, so Windows Insider to get the early release before it releases, 24H2 was recently switched over there, and I'm on that Insider build. So this is the next big Windows feature update. And compared to the one prior to this, 23H2, which is currently the stable release build, this has a lot more new features. And this kind of builds upon the Copilot Plus PCs we mentioned with that, not rewind feature, Brian. Do you remember a recall? However, that's not enabled here for us because we're not on a Copilot Plus PC. That's only for that. But so let's see, what else do we got here? So we got a for IT admins, we have a new functionality built into PowerShell, so you can use sudo, which is common in the Linux world. That's what gives elevated privileges. To enable that, you actually have to go into the developer options. So this isn't enabled by default, but once you get into the developer options, there's an option here for enable sudo command. And it just lets you know the risk of using that kind of command. And that's not a big one for most users. But one of the biggest features that I like the most, so I use 7-zip for compressing files, your traditional zip attachments. They added new functionality. So you can see I have a test file here. It's just a text document. When I go to show more ops or compress to, there it is. See now the 7-zip file, but there's this additional options menu. Here I can choose some other additional options for compressing the file. But now you can compress files directly as a 7-zip file, which is a long awaited feature for many of us.
Oh, that's really cool, Chris, because that saves a step from like right now, you got to update third-party apps to keep them secure and things like that. That's one less thing to update as far as third-party apps goes, because you don't have to update things like 7-zip because it's built into Windows now. So when you do your Windows update, it should update this.
Yeah, I'm not sure how exactly that'll work. I mean, there's still some use cases for 7-zip. The more features, the better when it comes to compression. Everyone has their own preference for zipping up files. Another big one, well, I don't care much for this. I'm not a printer fan, but if you go into your printers now, let's go printers and scanners. I'm just going to use, I don't have a printer, but if I go to this Microsoft Print to PDF, there's now this new thing, additional printer settings. So you can rename your printer right from here. They just added this new context menu and also pause printing.
Oh, cool. All right. So that dialog box is getting a little better each time.
Yeah, they're trying to build it out like what we used to have. And then when you go to power settings, they have this. I haven't tested this, I'm not on a laptop, but this new energy saver feature supposedly will make it your mobile devices, your laptops, your Microsoft Surface Pros will have better battery life. There's some accessibility option changes. Another big one, now this is important. You're going to like this one, Brian. So this is something Microsoft has called hot patching. And this is something that already kind of exists with their Xbox consoles and with Windows Server. Essentially, it's a new update method for they're going to try on Windows 11 here that'll allow the OS to install critical updates and patches without requiring a reboot to apply them. Now, we'll see how this works out, but this hot patching, it doesn't mean you never need to restart your computer again. You still should be restarting software installs or updates, updating graphics drivers. You still should restart after those actions. I'm actually curious, Brian, what your take is on this new hot patching feature.
I mean, that sounds great, but again, like you said, you want to free up memory and things like that from other applications because we know software isn't always 100%, that doesn't always run optimized 100% of the time because the way people they code, everybody codes things differently. So
Yeah.
you free up memory and things like that when you do a restart of the system. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you should still do it.
So they also, I don't really use the widget UI here, but they made some changes where you can switch between a news feed and widgets. So like this is almost like that Bing search if you open an Edge browser on the default page there. But there's like I don't have it configured right now, but you can switch between feed and news. And then you can also come into here, like you see how I just have my feed. You'll have my feed, you'll have two tabs and you can jump between them, share or hide them. I'm not sure if all of this was in 23H2, as I don't often use it, but I know they gave you, there's a new feature that allows you to switch between your feed and the news feed now.
Do you want my take on the widgets?
Yeah, I just enabled it for the webinar. I don't use it.
Yeah, that's my take on it. Disable it if you can, because all that crap news pops up there and everything else.
Yeah.
Sure, you can customize it, but most people are using their business PCs just to get work done and they don't need all that distraction. Okay. So was there anything else, or is that want to wrap it up there?
Yeah, that's just a quick overview. I don't have the exact date when this releases, but when it's in release, so think of Windows Insider as they got multiple channels, and we've spoken on Microsoft Office on you get newer releases quicker. You're pretty much beta testing the products, or so they got the dev channel, which is high. It can be stable for people, but that's where all the cutting edge of Windows features coming. Then you got beta, which is recommended and okay for daily use for the most part. Release preview is right before it gets released to the general public. So, it's pretty much ironed out. It's fairly safe to run. Some of our Microsoft partners, they actually all use their work PCs and laptops on release preview. So if you wanted to check it out, you would just go under Windows Update here. And it's this little Windows Insider program. And then once we go here, see here, and then they have a Canary channel as well. That's even more for highly technical. But you can choose here, you can stop getting preview builds and go back to a standard release. Generally, what I would recommend is staying on release preview or beta, because you can stop getting preview builds. So when the next feature release comes out, you're no longer an insider, you're just back on release. But when you're on these cutting edge here, you'll have to wipe Windows entirely to go back to a release build.
Yeah, and this is more or less what Chris is showing you is for power users, right? Or IT people. This is like, you don't want to do this. You might tee off your IT people if you start changing this around. Hopefully they have it locked down, but try to stay on with whatever your IT people want. It's usually there's some sort of corporate policy with this stuff.
It's usually managed by the organization and enterprise world. Yeah.
Right. So, all right, we got to hop off. Thanks, Chris, for showing us that, and stay tuned.
All right. Have a good one.
All right.